well. And so
Yeah.
they have to be exceptionally good too in order to really bring out the artwork in a positive light.
Yeah, so yeah, that's kind of a new challenge in that, I suppose. And do you feel like inkers, like as a practice, are really trying to show uh like their style, like over the top? Like, do they see the pencils as kind of like a breakdown and a playground for them, or I mean,
Uh,
I guess that's just an opinion.
yeah, I mean, I think it depends on ego, I guess,
Mm.
and some guys have different styles that they work with too. Like one of my very first books that I did, um, it was a independent book that uh, the writer was also an inker, and so he
Mm.
hired me to do the pencils because his pencils weren't quite there.
Hmm.
Um, but um, he changed a lot of what I was drawing, yeah, a lot of my lines because I feel like he thought he kind of knew better to some
Hmm.
degree because he had done stuff like GI Joe and things like that, like
Oh yeah.
real recognizable books for well-known publishers and stuff. Um, but but the way he inked those artists was a lot different from how he inked me.
Oh yeah. 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 Do you feel like your foundation in character like kind of helped you get where you were on those like pencil bases, like, or is that like a whole different process for you?
Oh no, it's I mean they influence each other. Um, and so like I'm I'm usually like somewhere in between, like where where my comic book stuff might not be as exaggerated as my caricature stuff.
Hmm.
It's definitely more exaggerated, or it really like focuses on likenesses and stuff than a lot of other artists, which
Yeah.
is kind of the same with the my caricatures. My caricatures lean toward a comic book style as well.
Hmm. Yeah. Were you
So
kind
I
of
just kind of shift that line a little bit depending on what the situation is, but they both influence each other equally, I'd say.
mhm. Were you going to school at the same time, like as you were developing your comic book style? Were you then first like learning character? Like, was it kind of happening in tandem?
uh yeah, kind of in tandem, but caricatures. So I mean, I started doing caricatures when I was in high school.
Oh yeah.
I was 17, and I got a job at the local Six Flags for Commons art shops, and I was already into comics, but had never drawn caricatures before. So I actually went in with comic book art in my portfolio, and that's what got me the job drawing caricatures because
Okay.
the manager who hired me, Adam English, is a huge comic nerd.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he liked that stuff, and he's just like automatically you're hired.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty cool.
So
And
so yeah, so like I was drawing caricatures all through college and stuff like that while I was also working on comic art, to like build that up as well at the same time.
mhm. So, in the process of your inking, so like a lot of us in character, it's kind of our first experience to use like brush tip pens and like weighted markers and things like that. Did that influence you to use that kind of line work your comic work as well, or do you still like kind of go to your multi-liners and microns and things like that?
Well, yeah, because I'm so used to the brush tips or bullet tips of the like chart packs and design markers and stuff like that. Uh, it was a lot more natural for me to get into the brush pens like the Tombos and the Kuritakis.
Mhm.
Once I found those, I uh, I found that I was a lot more comfortable with those, and I really lean on those for my inking when I do it
Mhm.
traditionally, because it also adds to the speed at which you can do stuff instead of like switching from like a 0.5 millimeter to a 0.1 millimeter just to get a
Mhm.
smaller line.
Yeah,
Um,
or doing shadow techniques where you're drawing the left side of that block shadow and the right side of that block shadow, and then filling it all in.
yeah, um, I've I've always found the brush tips to be pretty versatile, so
Mhm.
it usually works pretty good for me. I tend to like just move my arm around in a weird angle to get those opposite sides.
Mhm. When you're working on a surface for a comic book, do you tape your page down and kind of work the line with your arm, or do you keep it kind of free like lap easel style and move it around? Like what do you prefer in that?
Yeah, I spin it around. If if you're able to watch the video at all, during the coloring, I actually like spin the whole thing upside down just to get the right angle for my arm. Which is most comfortable. For me, I like to spin it around.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and everyone, we are gonna have that video available for you so that you can watch the breakdown of Rob's technique. It's it's a journey, about an hour, like what is about an hour long video of
Yeah,
breakdown of everything you
hour
do.
15, I think.
Yeah.
If
Well,
you
I'm looking forward to pouring myself into that. Honestly.
if you go to the announcements section in the Discord, they're already there. All the links are already there.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Um, do you feel uh, like working in comics, does that give you a detachment from the fandom at all, or would you still consider yourself like a pretty like hefty comic book fan? Like, is it becoming just work to you, or are you still reading a lot?
No, I still read a lot when I can. Um,
Mhm.
and I don't think that ever really dies. I'm not drawing comics like 40 hours a week or anything,
Yeah.
because it's really like 50-50 between comics and caricatures.
Mm.
So I've got all my caricature work that I have to do too, which is gigs or commissions and that stuff. Um, and I kind of just fit in comics uh, when I can, which recently hasn't been um, that that much, uh,
Yeah.
just because I've got two little ones that I'm raising right now. They're
Well,
2 years and 8 months, so not a lot of time during the day to work on comics, which are a lot
yeah,
more time consuming than caricatures.
yeah, absolutely. Well, that's the good kind of handful.
Yeah, they're fun.
That's so cool. Do you see yourself ever wanting to draw like comics and things, even like one panels of your like home life experience and stuff like that? Do you express yourself artistically that way?
No, not really. That was definitely a thing that um, my professors in college didn't like too
Oh,
much.
really?
Yeah, like I went to a school where they were really focused on, you know, fine art aspects of, who you are as an artist and what your, self-expression was about yourself and the world around you. And I'm more attuned to just drawing stuff that I think looks cool or somebody else's script, for the most
Yeah.
part.
Yeah. No, well, I guess that like really lends to technique sometimes. Like you're, yeah, if you have a script and you're building a structure like with that writer, like you get to be a little bit more technique focused, I guess. And
Yeah, to some degree. I mean, there's still room for creativity depending on um, who the writer is and um, how much input they want from you.
Mhm.
Because a writer at the same time doesn't visualize the same way as we do as artists.
Yeah.
So they might put the script down a certain way, um, and and then you can say, oh well, like I don't think this really translates visually, or like I think this is a good idea, and a lot of times they'll be receptive to that, and you
Hmm.
can add your little bits into the story if you've got an interesting concept for the way it's going to go.
Yeah. And I've found with working with like writers who are a lot more literary that like often enough like and especially with a character background of yeah we express things in like sometimes in gags and things like that but even transferring over to illustration like you want to say something like simply by having an image or an expression or like being able to like cut dialogue simply because you can show it. I think that I've worked with a lot of writers that they just want to write everything.
Oh yeah,
And
and it never makes it onto the page. Yeah.
yeah, like yeah, this script will be like there's a scroll on one end, and then the character is like saying half of the things that they can see in the field of vision of the drawing itself.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, part of that is the the idea is that comics, your effects budget and all that stuff is limitless, so you
Hmm.
can do anything, but at the same time, like there are limits to how much work you can expect the artist to put into something, you know without
Yeah,
it being like too crazy.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
But
I
I
mean,
like I like to hide like little jokes and stuff in the backgrounds of my panels and stuff like that too, or
mhm.
little just little inside jokes that maybe somebody might get if they were like into the Simpsons or something like that. They might notice something that I might have thrown in there or that
Mhm.
isn't a main part of the story.
Yeah. Um, what I've gone, I've thumbed through your work, and it looks like you cover a lot of different genres. Like you worked in like sci-fi and humor and stuff. Like what's your favorite kind of stuff to work on?
Well, my favorite stuff is superheroes,
Hmm.
but most of my published work is not superheroes. Uh, and I think that's mostly because like Marvel and DC pretty much have that like market cornered for the most part. So a lot of uh, independent publishers or publishers that are a little bit smaller tend to focus on other stuff instead of
Hmm.
trying to compete with those guys.
Right.
Um,
And even if they do something in the superhero genre, it's almost always either a parody or a commentary on the way that, like, the way we see superheroes, like that, or at least that's an observation I see. Where you get a lot of things like The Boys and
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah,
uh,
they try to exploit those things that we're used to about superheroes and things like that, and
mhm.
take them in a different direction that can be like more exciting or shocking that you're not used to seeing because the other ones kind of follow certain rules.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I'm definitely a fan of in general, like the direction of indie comics and like pushing the envelope on like even other typical genres, like your strange sci-fi and like space odysseys and stuff like that. Like, what are some of your favorites out there? Like when you have the time to, like, what kind of titles are you seeking out?
I mean, all sorts of different stuff. Like, I mean, if it's a new, if it's an idea that seems kind of different and unique, I'm
Mhm.
willing to check it out. Um, I tend to try to buy a lot from individual creators.
Yeah.
Like, so I do a decent amount of conventions, and so I'll just go around to the tables and buy directly from the guys that are selling their stuff. You know, and that's the best way to get the most unique kind of stories out there too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I love Comic Cons for that, like that level of exposure and the kind of conversation you can have about different stories, like artist alley style tables and booths are where it's at.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Let's see here. Yeah. So are I mean, you seem to be like very knowledgeable and stuff, but you don't seem to be like too much of a comic book snob. Like, do you do you like a lot of the directions that the mainstream has like taken with it? Because I mean,
Yeah,
personally, I think it's hard not to be a fan of Marvel and DC in general. But
I mean, I wouldn't say that I'm a purist to any degree on like all of that stuff. Like, I don't get up in arms if they like change a little something for movies or different media,
mhm.
because I understand that it can't always be exactly the same, and especially a lot of that stuff. It's been going on. They've had these characters for 50 plus years sometimes. And
Mhm.
you don't want to just do the same thing over and over and over and over again. Like, creatively, that's no fun.
Yeah,
And
I think that as hard or as fun as it is to try to like truly track the character development of Captain America or Cyclops is like, if you want to talk about that, you better like lock yourself into a decade.
and it's impossible for you to do that if you're just going by the books. Like, there's like, where are you going to start to get the beginning?
Mm,
They, I mean, every now and then they come out with, like, they revamp everything, start it out from new sometimes, but
yeah.
some of those big ones, they just keep on going. So you'd never get the full background on those guys unless you started buying tons and tons of back issues.
Hmm. And that's kind of like, yeah, the purpose of those reboots too is to give new fans a chance to start from the beginning, you know?
Yeah, and speak to a different generation, possibly, obviously the world is always changing, so it's in a different place than where it was, when a lot of these characters were created.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, I'm really happy to see some of my favorite characters like starting to get spotlighted a little bit more. Like Taskmaster is getting a little bit of a little bit of buzz. I was actually seeing a lot of like Halloween costumes being built of Taskmaster because the new Scarlet or Black Widow movie is going to come out sometime,
Oh
and
yeah.
Moon Knight, which is maybe my favorite superhero ever, or depending on when you start the comics in the like early 2000s to 2010s. I don't necessarily like fully like what they're doing with him as of late, but I'm happy to see more uh, screen time, if you will, for him. And I saw that they'll probably be getting their own like Moon Knight TV show, like in the style of your Luke Cages and stuff like that. Are there any characters like that where you get like really buzzy about them, and you're like, man, I wish that this one guy like would get their own TV show or something like that? Is there?
Well, I'm actually a huge fan of the comic Invincible,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a Robert Kirkman superhero book.
Yeah.
Robert Kirkman did Walking Dead, um, and all that stuff, and they actually have an animated series coming out.
Yeah.
Uh, Amazon? I can't remember exactly what it is, but that one's coming, which I'm super excited about.
Oh man. Well, now I got something else to look forward to.
And the cool thing about the series Invincible on animation is it looks exactly like the comic book, the drawing style, which is nice.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, it does. And hopefully they won't pull punches too much.
yeah, it's a fairly dark one, right? Like a
Yeah,
Superman
like yeah,
analog.
it starts out like your, typical superhero coming of age book, and then things get nasty.
All right.
But lots of it's super violent, but like in a way that you would expect, superpowered beings to actually, you know, have things happen if they were, punching each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like they actually get hurt, instead of just shrugging it off with no bruises or anything.
Yeah. Like pretty much, if you can throw a specific person into a wall, most people, most heroes are going to be pretty done.
Yeah, I mean, even if if you're super durable, if the guy that punched you can lift a tank over his head, that's
Yeah.
gonna affect you.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Like Marvel and other major publications, they sometimes they touch down on it just a little bit, but yeah, for the most part, they want the fight to keep going, and it doesn't matter if Juggernaut lowers his shoulder into Gambit, like Gambit will be fine later, like.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
we know,
he's not gonna be in the hospital for 3 months.
yeah,
He'll
we
he'll be
we
out there next issue.
we know what would happen. There's a really fantastic run. Superior Spider-Man. I really love. Just to paraphrase really fast, but Doc Ock switches brains with Peter Parker for years. Peter Parker dies in Doc Ock's body. Awesome. But there's a moment where Doc Ock, as Spider-Man, the superior Spider-Man, punches the Scorpion in the face, and his jaw comes off. And Doc Ock looks down at his new spider hand, and then he flashes back to every time that Peter Parker has punched him, and he goes, "Oh, this superhero has super strength, and he's been actively trying not to kill me."
Yeah, he's been pulling his punches the entire time, and he had no idea.
Yeah, for years and years. But yeah, I don't know. I love stuff like that.
Yeah, things that just aren't, always covered. Things that you wouldn't normally think about when you're telling a traditional superhero story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why I think that a lot of audiences lean towards that. Like, if Marvel is going to do like an isolated series or TV show, I think that a lot of people, genre-wise, want them to be on the ground level. Like, there's something a little bit more appealing about like Daredevil and the unique challenges of being Luke Cage. Like, it's if you can't fly and shoot lasers out of your eyes and have super strength and super durability, like, I think that we kind of, I don't know, like, soak into the story a little bit more, especially on like a TV level.
Yeah.
But what you probably get this a lot, but what superpowers do you want, Rob?
Oh, what would I want? I mean, I guess like invulnerability seems like should be the obvious answer.
Mm-hmm.
Just for the fact that you can work around some of those other aspects. Like, oh, you can't fly, go get a jetpack, At least a bullet's not gonna, take me out.
Yeah, like, I'm liking this live forever thing. Yeah, I want.
I mean, maybe not that necessarily, but just like, I can't get hurt, so easily.
Yeah.
Is the thing. I can learn to fight, or do something else effectively, but you can't learn not getting, beat up, not getting injured.
And yeah, even as great as like telepathy would be, like a Emma Frost like level of like mind manipulation and control, I get distracted too easy. So I can't be thinking about everybody's brains all the time. I would definitely get got with that extremely powerful.
Yeah, that could drive you insane.
Oh yeah, I don't want to hear what other people are thinking about me. If anybody has any questions for Rob, yeah, feel free to pop up in the chat, and I'll do what I can to relay that. I hope everyone is sketching and getting some inspiration as we go. I've literally not touched my page at all.
I just started working on mine.
Well,
You're focused on the conversation.
Yeah, talking his ear up,
Rob, I was going to ask if you wanted to show your progress, but I guess that sort of answers that.
Yeah, I mean, I could show you a little bit here.
Oh yeah, squeeze this in.
Ben.
Oh man. Heck yeah.
I'm going with the whole mailbox mayhem theme.
Did you go right in with the pencils? Do you sketch in like a sketchbook first? Like what mediums are you using at the moment to do this particular one?
So I went straight on the cover right away with my pencils. And they're like super messy and all over the place. Like down in the bottom here, it just looks like a mess. Like only I could really interpret what is trying to go on right there. But actually, so I'm drawing like the entire board basically. And I've drawn most of these guys a few times already. So I've got a little bit to work on, from past sketches to not have to do too much pre-sketching work to figure out their faces.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just moved recently, Rob, but yeah, I did have that. You drew me as a bat at one of the last conventions.
Yes.
And yeah, that was hanging up right above my threshold for the longest time, and yeah, unfortunately, you'll get up there. I'll get you up there.
Well, I know you get a lot of drawings, so
Yeah, I'm running out of wall space and bedroom space, but I appreciate it, and no matter how good you are, I'm talking to every artist out there right now. You can get rotated off this wall. There's always a better drawing.
Or even just a newer drawing,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Tim and I, Rob and I have been doing a lot of conventions over the years, and we see each other at a few of them here and there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's been a little while.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, please, Eric.
I'm really interested in comic book conventions and what they're saying is the state of the affairs for that.
Yeah.
Moving forward in 2021.
So, I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, a lot of the conventions this past year just packed it in and decided to cancel like right away once the virus hit, knowing that there really wasn't a good way to do it safely. I think some conventions are still doing kind of virtual events like this in some way where they still have some stuff going on virtually. But I haven't heard about any really making any solid plans for next year with everything kind of up in the air and actually all of our numbers rising here in the US doesn't really help to find an end in sight where we might be able to get a ton of people in a big room like that. Unfortunately,
Are there discussion boards like on Facebook or anything where people are talking about if in fact they were to have even an outdoor convention, how you would set up for something like that? I'm always interested in what the future of setting up for events and protecting ourselves as artists.
Yeah, I do belong to a group. I think it's like North American Comic Conventions or something, which is that a lot of people use to promote their conventions and what's going on. So I haven't really seen anything recently about anybody with like plans for that sort of stuff, but I haven't really actively looked for it myself yet. I guess because I'm not really confident in the possibilities of things going on, but I could see an outdoor event working. But I haven't really heard too much about any stuff like that being in the process or in the works.
I'd like to piggyback off that question a little bit, if I may, not so much with comic work, but with caricaturing work.
Okay.
Thank you. So I had probably about 80% of my caricaturing gigs that were scheduled for this past season canceled because of COVID. You have to excuse my camera. I know it's kind of off to the side. I have a laptop and a monitor, which is why it's sort of shifted like that. So I apologize.
Oh, no problem.
But anyway,
We can hear your voice.
sorry?
Oh, we can hear your voice. That's good.
Oh, good, good. So I've had, like I said, the majority of my gigs canceled due to COVID. And like you said, it's kind of hard to see in the foreseeable future when this might be resolved. Do you, Rob, or does anyone on here have any suggestions as far as maybe some sort of virtual work opportunities, maybe some specific companies that are open to more beginning caricature artists? Because I'm dealing with a little bit of a catch-22 with, working full-time and trying to find opportunities. And trying to build up to the point where I'd have more time to invest in it.
Right. Yeah. Rob, do you have very much experience in the digital character field, or is that something that you haven't got around to yet?
Well, yeah, I mean, I haven't really dipped into the virtual events so much myself. I do digital caricatures, but a lot of what I've seen, and so I have listings on like lots of different, sites like Gigmasters, or they go by the Bash now, and I'm represented by all the agencies.
Did you say the Bash?
Yeah, the Bash.
The Bash.
BASH.
Okay, yeah, those are the kind of names I was definitely sort of looking for, and I would do, my own. Obviously, I'd look into those and go from there. But yeah, just names like that I could look into for opportunities would be great.
Yeah,
and we.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Rob.
All right. So some of those they have, like the Bash, they charge you to be on there.
Okay.
So it is an investment in order to hopefully get the work out of it. So hopefully you get enough work to make it worth your while. But I mean, usually it's like, if you can get a couple gigs out of it, it's worth the yearly membership.
Right. Are there any others like that, like the Bash?
There's one called Guru that I use. It's more for just illustration.
Okay.
Not as much live events, and you can get a free membership on there, but you're also competing with people all over the world.
Yeah,
definitely.
Right.
We'll do what we can to try to compile like some of these resources. Like we know that's a definite like pressing thing on everyone's mind, and we have a lot of other character artists within this organization and at this convention that have a lot more experience when it comes to like live like working live digital gigs and things like that. But if you don't mind, I'd like to move that conversation maybe to a later time. Like,
sure, absolutely. I thank you, Rob, for the little bit of suggestion that you did give me. I appreciate it.
Oh yeah, no problem. Yeah. And the agents too are, part of the organization, so you can hook up with those guys and talk about trying to get work with them.
Great, thank you.
Absolutely, yeah, and yeah, thank you for that question. Rob, I saw that you've also worked and been credited as an art director. What's kind of the different experience of being an art director and working with a writer versus like inking and penciling, or are you kind of doing all of that together?
Yeah, so my role as art director for Broken Icon Comics is kind of like talent evaluator sometimes. So anybody that wants to draw for Broken Icon sends me their submissions, And, I look over and see if they're, at a level that's professional and, ready for published work, or, up to our standards.
Mhm.
And I try to give people some feedback, if I find that they aren't at that level yet, to what they can work on to get there, or other avenues that they might want to start at before they get to Broken Icon. And then I pass those guys off to my editors, and the editors decide on, if they're going to go on a book, or what kind of book they might be good for, if they want to work with them. But I also evaluate the pages of our current artists too. So while they're working on a book, I might get their thumbnails, so that I can, see how the storytelling is going, if it works and meshes with the script, and then their pencils and stuff too before they go through for final inks, so that I can point out any flaws in like anatomical stuff, or other things that they might be missing, as far as what needs to be focused on for the script, that sort of thing. So I've got a little bit of a hand in pretty much all the books that go out, unless they, we've got like sometimes we have a project that comes in that's already completed.
Yeah.
And I just have to be like, yeah, that looks okay.
Yeah, that sounds way better. But
it's a lot less work to do it that way, but
yeah, it sounds like having a strong background in composition like might help with that too. But like I'm guessing that a lot of your pencilers and inkers are already kind of at that level as well.
Yeah, I mean, it depends, because we're a small independent, so we might be getting people who have very little experience really actually working with publishers, and maybe they've just done work with a writer separately, or done their own thing, and haven't really worked with any sort of direction. Usually, when you're starting out, you don't have that kind of a team involved to tell you what you can work on, what you're not doing right, what you need to get your stuff to the next level, some of those things. So they're not used to having critique, which you need in order to get better at that stuff, because to the layperson, it might look great, and you might get lots of like yes men just telling you how awesome you are, because they don't know the next level of that sort of stuff.
Right. Yeah, it's like there's a structure that's all built in there to help the overall value of the comic. Yeah, I like that process. I have a couple of good questions here. What's the current aftermarket for your original work, and what sites are you using to like sell and reach out to fans? And what are your current like submission rules for companies?
That's a lot of different questions.
Yeah, sorry. I'm really interested in what sites are you using to sell to fans, like through the publisher or through yourself?
Okay. Yeah. So most of my books, all my books are done through publishers. So they kind of decide how they're going to sell them. But there's lots of different like secondary sources besides just like comic shops or conventions in person. Some of my books are in digital format that you can get on sites like Comixology. And Broken Icon just started working with a site called Global Comics.
Okay.
And they have titles available in all sorts of different languages for different countries. So that's something that's cool and new, getting into some different markets with the translations there.
Yeah.
As far as like individual artwork, as far as like my comic art, I just sell it through my own website, essentially, commissions and stuff. You know, people will contact me through there.
Yeah.
And like pages from books that I've worked on, I only sell through through conventions generally. You can get an agent who will do that for you.
I always dream of that.
But those guys, yeah, they take some of the cut, and they also tend to focus on the bigger names more than little guys like me.
Yeah. I think this would be a good time to remind everyone, if you're in the channel right now and you have signed up for the second heat of the likeness competition. I do believe that's coming up. So yeah, check your heat times, and yeah, make sure you get to that link on time, so you have plenty of time to work on your 4 pieces. Rob, you have a little bit more time for a question or two?
Yeah, of course.
Excellent. Yeah, how many new artist portfolio submissions do you get yearly? Like, yeah, how much reviewing are you doing?
That's hard to say. I've got quite a few in my inbox right now that I haven't quite gotten to yet. But I'd say I average, maybe a few emails a week, from artists, with like links to online portfolios or things like that, in hopes of trying to look for jobs. Of course, I mean, at a smaller company like Broken Icon, we put maybe a couple dozen books out a year. So
yeah,
there's only so many people that we can hire, and it's the same way with most independent companies. So it's hard to get answers.
Yeah.
Sometimes,
Oh yeah. No, I mean, you'll know what's right when it comes to you. I'm sure. Yeah, but discretion is key when you're working small and tight with people, I imagine. Could you break down like what you're kind of expecting from submissions when somebody sends you a portfolio? Like, do you want something that's like small and concise? Like how many pages do you want to go through? Like what?
Yeah, typically most publishers are looking for like 3 to 6 maybe sequential pages. Most of them have a submissions area on their website that'll tell you exactly what they're willing to take. But I'd say most publishers, they want to see sequentials. So they want to see actual storyline pages to show that you can tell a story. And it doesn't have to have word bubbles or anything in it, because honestly, your artwork should be able to tell what's happening without actual text in there. And they want you to show a variety of types of scenes, you know, to show that you can handle different moods, different types of environments or actions and stuff. You know, they don't really care as much about pinups or covers, because those jobs are fewer and further between, and you know, it's a lot harder to get cover work, because you know, they're going to established, you know, people generally for that. You know, unless they're a company that has the interior artist actually do the covers. But yeah, your best bet is definitely showing them storyline.
Very cool.
And not too much, because nobody wants to look at too much.
Yeah.
Too much. Too many pages is overwhelming.
Well, that's exactly the kind of information that I was wanting to hear.
Yeah.
Rob, do you mind if we take one more peek at your page? And unless you have
I didn't get very far, but
I mean, I want to see everything.
Okay. So there's inks.
So this is really self-serving, because I just get to look at my own face.
Yeah. So if you could tell at all what's going on down there, there's Faraci.
Oh man.
There's the chairman. And there we go. I gotta be.
You look glorious.
Is the chairman getting walloped?
No, he's cheering you on. There's Manny relaxing behind you.
This is perfect.
You're walloping a mailbox. You're taking it out.
the stack of boxes.
We got a stack of boxes that Cece's carrying, and Eric shoving them into mailboxes.
Heck yeah.
Beautiful.
Man, that's incredible. Rob, do you have did you have any shout outs or anything that you wanted to mention, like, considering that this is, you know, your platform and we're here to listen to you? Like, do you have anything else for us before we head off?
Plugs?
Yeah, like, what do you want?
No, not really. I mean, you know, if you want to check out my social media stuff, all that stuff is there. I'm pretty easy to find. I'm just at Rob Dumo. Yeah. Nothing complicated. No weird names or anything.
And just follow the word bubbles of people shouting Dumo. It's really hard not to do. Well, yeah. Thanks again so much for sharing what time you have with us. Like, we know that, you know, you're busy with the kids and juggling work and everything, and you have great information. Thank you so much.
Oh yeah,
thank you, Rob.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here.
President of ISCA, do you have any announcements as we leave this this Zoom?
No, I mean, I guess I just want to mention, you know, again, that video that Dumo put together for us, his Black Panther cover. We're re-uploading that, and we'll have that accessible in the very near future. Yeah, let's see, we got 2 more heats of the likeness competition tonight. One that's starting right now, so if you're in heat 2, get in there. And Character 101 Q&A with Hitomi Ishihara. That's at 9 p.m. Eastern.
Tom, I have a question or a comment.
Yo,
you guys should tell people to watch the videos before they come to these. Make sure that they know.
Well, the videos are there was an issue with the videos we uploaded, so we're re-uploading them currently. Otherwise, we would have.
If you happen,
no, I actually watched his, and I watched Hitomi's last night. And once when I went in there, it did give me that error that somebody was asking me about earlier. So But I was able to watch them both. But
Yeah, that's good.
'cause they might
yeah,
be
we are
confused if they
fixing
walk
those,
in here and just.
We're gonna hopefully moving forward. We wanted to do it with this one, but realized just the timing didn't work out because of those errors. We wanted to have like watch parties prior to the speakers, so
Okay.
keep an eye out for that. We'll try and get everyone looped in on it. So yeah, that's what we got for you.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Once again, thank you, Rob, so much. We'll be doodling with you in all the other rooms, and we'll never stop bothering you.
Yeah, hopefully I'll be able to get in and get some more drawing done and get some stuff out there.
Heck yeah. Well, thank you very much, ISCA family. I'll see you guys in the other chat rooms.
All right, bye guys.
Yeah, Rob.
All right.